probably
Yeah,
recording right now.
I
you
always
never
talk
know.
when I'm not supposed to.
All right, listeners, welcome to the Big Banter crossover episode. We got Connor from Inside the Nest here, and we are Sky U Pod, Kurt Spencer Max. Looking forward to previewing this big time rivalry matchup. Um, Connor, we'll start with you. I've seen a couple different opinions from Iowa fans on Twitter about how big this rivalry is to you guys. So let's just get your opinion. What does this rivalry mean to you? Like, do you view it as big thing, small?
Oh, listen, man, I was doing a little bit of digging, and this is one of the oldest and if not the best trophy game I can think of. Like, I was kind of like looking around trying to find what I think could be better. Obviously, I'm biased, but I mean, this has been such a long-standing trophy. So to me, I never take it lightly. I mean, there's been years where we've blown you guys out. There's been years where you guys have absolutely smoked us and blown our doors off. And as of recently, man, it feels like we've been playing a lot tighter of games. And so, I mean, I take this rivalry pretty seriously. I don't know about most other Iowa fans, but from the people I follow and see, feels like they've got a pretty good, pretty much the same feeling as I do. We take it pretty serious, man. It's no joke.
Yeah. You know, we'll never have the moment, probably just with updated security, of being able to haul off Iowa's goalposts, but that clip comes around every year, and I just have to scroll past it. I'm just like, no,
Yeah, no, I
no,
feel
not.
you. I have those same things all the time. It's just bad memories, man. How about you
I
guys?
do.
Do you guys take it the same way? Or you guys taking it a little lighter? You know, like I don't know how Minnesota fans really see it.
I think it's viewed as huge, just especially losing 8 straight now. It's probably the most wanted game for Minnesota fans the last 3 years, I'd say. I mean, we've now that we've gotten a few back on Wisconsin, it's kind of
That's
leveled
right.
off. Like we'll always hate, well, we hate Iowa, but Wisconsin's it's just different. We just see them in like every sport and stuff like that. And so
Heard
I think
that.
Wisconsin will always hold the top spot as far as rivalry, but I was right there with them. So
Oh,
um,
absolutely, totally
yeah, we
understand.
want we want the pig bad. Me and Spencer were there in person the last time we won it. I think that's the key. Is me and Shitty should show up to this game. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But um,
Yeah,
yeah,
man, that'd be interesting.
I'll let Max and Spencer answer, but I think it's a big time trophy game for the Ghosts. We have three great ones, but this is maybe the best. So
Well, right on.
Yeah. I personally, I think it's a favorite of mine. You know, my mom and dad, they grew up in Iowa, so I have a lot of Iowa fans in the family. So I guess it's a little more personal for me. Um, but, you know, Floyd or Rosedale, it's just such an
Doesn't get
iconic
better than that.
trophy. I mean, the big bronze pig, it's big and heavy. I mean, just watching a team like haul that back to the locker room after a win is just, it's special. So this is like probably my personal favorite rivalry. You know, I love to see this every year. Um, I just hope that the Gophers can finally, you know, make it a little more interesting, I guess. Like you said, Connor, I do think that the Gophers have made it a little more interesting over the past few years. I feel like even the Gophers, you know, it seems like they were capable of winning the game, but for some reason, Iowa just ends up on top. I think for numerous reasons. I think that they've just been in that moment before. Ferentz has seen the Gophers for many, many years now. He just knows how to beat the Gophers. Um, and I think honestly, after as an Iowa player, you know, you see you win this game every year. I think that mentality of just like, all right, we can do this. We've done it for the past almost 10 years. I think that in itself just, you know, can get the job done. So
Absolutely.
I just hope that the Gophers can make something happen. You know, it seems like you know, it's another game where anything could happen. Gophers have looked a little iffy, I guess, in the past couple of games. But I feel like on paper, it's a good matchup. You know, I feel like again the talent is there. Um, so I'm just excited. I just want a good ball game this weekend.
Heard that, man. Totally agree with everything. What do you think of Max? How you feeling?
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of the best, I think, college football traditions, this one, and like we said, the Wisconsin game. And yeah, for me, it's like we don't have an in-state rival, but playing Wisconsin and Iowa is kind of the next closest thing, and we get 2 of them. So every year, no matter what, whether the Gophers are having a good year or a down year, it feels like we always say like Wisconsin or Iowa, like we gotta at least get one of those back or get like win at least one of those to make the year worth it. Especially in the down years, that's like our only hope or like glimmer of hope towards the end. Feels like we used to always play you guys towards the end of the year too, so that was always like the one. Once we got past that point in the season where there was no, there was really no coming back from a down year. That was kind of Iowa and Wisconsin, the only 2 circled. But hopefully this year will be, still another good game. And I think, going to Kinnick is always tough. And I don't remember the last time we've actually won there. I think it's been, I don't know.
1999.
Is that when Parents was hired?
Right around then, man.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been a while.
It's been a long time, but that's what we were saying. That we said the same thing when we were, we hadn't won in Camp Randall in forever, and we finally did it to kind of break the losing streak at Camp Randall. So hopefully for the Gophers, this is that same thing for the Floyd of Rosedale.
Not totally, man. It's not a game to be taken lightly. I mean, I don't know if you guys are gambling guys or not, but the spread is just jumping closer and closer to Minnesota's favorite. So I don't think anyone really knows it's going to be a really good ball game. At least I think we all feel that way going into it. So yeah. I'm real excited for it.
Yeah. Hey, Connor, if you wouldn't mind, give us just a quick insight on how you're feeling of Iowa's season up until this point. You don't have to go into like a ton of detail. I know the offense gets a lot of attention nationally from the media, but I mean, you guys keep winning. So how are you and Iowa fans just feeling up to this point?
Yeah, man, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I mean, we all see the stuff about Iowa every day and their offense. So we've all seen it. It's not pretty, but as for everything else, I've been really pleasantly surprised. I know Tory Taylor has kind of been one of those guys going into the season that was seen as one of the favorites for punters, at least for like All-American purposes. And he's just been lights out, man. He's been a lot of fun to watch, and it's a sad day when you get to sit here and talk about how fun it is for your punter to watch. So, as for the rest of our special teams, it's always pretty solid. I like what LeVar Woods does. He always puts the right guy back there to return, and Cooper DeJean, man, he's just a ball player at any position, wherever you put him. So I think that's been a lot of fun to watch, just the differences and, the little schemes we have for special teams. And, defense, kind of the same thing. I don't want to beat a dead horse. That's usually our strong point. But a lot of guys have had to step up and just with injuries and stuff like that. And, I really would say they have up to this point. So I'm surprised with how that's turned out. I'm happy with it. I don't think a lot of other our Hawkeye fans are. They want to see an electric offense, go for 50 points. But I'm happy. I think if we can just keep winning, I'm one of those guys that's cool with winning by 1 point. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. As far as talking about punters, I wish we would spend more time talking about ours. Gopher special teams is something we just try and hope doesn't ruin the game for us each week. I mean, it's year 7 of PJ. We complain about it pretty much every episode of how it's never really like a huge part of like winning the game for us or anything. And at best case scenario, it's just not getting in the way. So a little envious there of that for you guys. But I did have one question kind of about the offense, but I didn't want to go into, I mean, there's, like you said, everyone's talking about it. I mentioned to you before we started, the Gophers offense is actually right there with them in almost all of those categories this season. So I'm not going to poke fun at it at all. I just want to ask you, let's go a little lighthearted with it. If you were in charge of talking to Brian Ferentz, giving him a pep talk to get this ship turned around, what might that sound like?
I mean, man, without trying to get like too hokey or too cheesy, I would just tell them, man, I mean, schematically, I'm not blaming him for anything here. It's just really been unfortunate seeing how, we lost our best tight end. We lost our second best tight end. We lost our transfer quarterback, who I don't know specifically how much money we spent on him NIL wise, but it was a good chunk of change, man. And so, having that kind of negative energy come in with injuries, I would just try to just stay focused on, running the ball, just focusing on offensive line play. That's what his bread and butter was when we got him to come to Iowa. He was an offensive line coach. I wish he would just spend time focusing on that and just getting the run game going. It's hard to really say something as far as getting, him hermed up and ready to go. The guy's a pretty stern guy, but That's what
Yeah.
I'm rolling with, man. I'm just gonna say, man, do
Yeah.
you stick to what you got because it's
I
working so far.
I didn't know if you were gonna go with like the threatening pep talk or just some encouragement, but I like it. Just refocusing on the
Man, you
basics.
don't
It's
understand how bad I want to give him a threatening pep talk, but I'm not one of those guys. I
yeah.
appreciate him, and I don't want to blame him only. It's a
No.
lot of problems. So
Hey, that's a healthy fandom right there.
that's right. I try to be at least.
Yeah.
So as far as you guys though, how are you feeling about? I mean, I was looking at just some of the stats going into today as far as rushing, and this guy Darius Taylor. I mean, he hasn't even played the last couple of games, and he's just lighting up the stat sheet. I haven't been able to watch every Minnesota game, but how do we feel about him playing this weekend, and what really separates him as a whole? Like, what makes him better than the rest of the guys that are out there 7 games already and that aren't even close to him?
Sure. Um, as far as availability, it's a guessing point because PJ won't tell you anything until he has to. So we do find out before the game starts, for which is new this season, with that depth chart rule that the Big Ten put in. But I'm gonna guess that he's back just because the story was that he was super close to Michigan and that some of the coaches thought they would have him back for Michigan, but ultimately the training staff said no, like he's not going to go tonight. So, based on that information, which is kind of rumored to be out there, I think he will play. As far as what makes him so good, um, I think more than any back we have right now, he's very patient and he just seems to know like the timing of when to hit the hole or when to wait out for the block. Very Mo Ibrahim esque in that way. He's not Mo
That's what I
yet.
was thinking.
I don't want to put that on. He's a true freshman. And Mo set records here, so I'm not going to put that on him. And frankly, with the weapons we feel we have, we don't feel like he needs to be Mo. But when PJ finds it back, he's going to use them as much as possible. So that's why Darius Taylor has put up so many yards in those few games is that we've just kind of force fed him the ball. But yeah, I would say his patience is probably his biggest attribute, and then he's also just he's not a big guy, but he's pretty strong. He just seems to fall forward with every tackle. So even when you hit him at the line, it seems to be like a 2 to 3 yard gain, even when not much is there. So that's I kind of probably took everything. I'm sorry, Spencer Max, but if you guys have anything to add on him, go ahead. That just seems to be what stands out about him so far.
I think you just kind of nailed it on the head, Kurt. I won't add too much more. He just looks like one of those classic, at least in recent years, Minnesota backs. Like Kurt said, he's patient, and I think when he has like a hole, he's just going to hit it hard. He's not really a big dancer. I feel like Sean Tyler. He's kind of got that quick kind of mobility, kind of dances around and tries to make a guy miss. But I feel like in the Big Ten West, you need the guy that's just going to hit the hole and run forward and just put his head down and try to get some yards. And I think that's just Darius Taylor. Um, he's a fun guy to watch. It'll be awesome to see him, in the next upcoming years. Hopefully he doesn't transfer or anything.
Right.
But yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do. And I do think that he'll be back for this game. It's too big of a game maybe to not be back, so I'm hoping that he's suited up and ready to
For
go.
sure, man.
Yeah, agree with
Max,
all.
you got anything, man?
Yeah, I think the big thing is like he kind of we do have the Sean Tyler type where he's quick and fast. You want to get him on the edge, and then we have a Bryce Williams who's the bigger power back. You want more towards the goal line, and a Zach Evans is kind of somewhere in the middle. It feels like Darius Taylor kind of can do all of that in one, and he can do it 30, 35 times in a game consistently. So it's really just all around. He's kind of got the full package of tools, and he's got that intuitive vision that he can hit the hole, he can find the right hole. With some patience, but also being able to explode through and change directions quickly. So, yeah, it's really he can kind of do it all, and he can do it all consistently. So it's been huge, especially as a true freshman. That's like I've just
No
been
doubt, man.
so impressed.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be coming at him with some different stuff that hopefully he's not too used to, just considering he's a younger guy. And same with your guys' quarterback. And I apologize, I'm just not even going to try to say his last name. I've tried and butchered it every time.
I
But
think most people can't. Ethan Kaliakmanis is how I say it, but it's he's Greek, weird
it's a
guy.
sweet name. I
Yeah,
don't want to disrespect him by
no,
butchering it like that.
it's
But
all
all that to
right.
say, you guys kind of were saying before. I mean, you guys always have pretty solid running backs, and I do not disagree at all. But going off of that, it feels like you guys always have just like this big, massive, crazy offensive line. Is that something that's kind of rolled over into this year as well, or are you guys playing the same kind of style of football there, just smash mouth, we're gonna run right through you with these big ass dudes kind of thing? Or
I'll let Max start first this time.
cool.
Just so.
Yeah, I think the running style has been similar. You can see there's a little bit of nuance just with the new offensive coordinators, a little bit different play calling. Not having, not having the same starters on offense, I think you can see a little bit of a difference. But overall, it is a lot of just our guys are going to try to be bigger and stronger than your guys up front and open up some holes. I think the biggest difference from last year, though, I mean, we do have the size and the physicality. It really is just the experience. Sometimes you see those small lapses, a missed block, misassignment, where you really didn't have that as much in the last couple of seasons. But with the new starters, it makes a lot of sense that that's kind of their biggest downfall sometimes.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and with that inexperience, I feel like we were kind of wondering how that's going to look like this year. And I've been pretty impressed with how they've played overall. I mean, when you're running the ball successfully, I mean, that's kind of a telltale sign that, well, your back's pretty good, but also the guys up front are doing their job. Um, I think specifically, even though the Gophers got obliterated by Michigan, I thought our running game was pretty good. You're without Darius Taylor. You have your kind of second, third string guys running the ball. And I thought the offensive line did well against a number two, Michigan team with a great defense. So I was pretty happy with that. I think over time, the chemistry has built a lot, and I think that they're playing a lot better together. So I'm excited to see that that building, keeping going throughout the rest of the season, and hopefully for the next few years to come, they continue to do well. I think a lot of these guys are older again this year. It'll probably reload and up front, but I'm impressed with what they've done so far this year.
Yeah, I would just add that the run blocking is definitely what they do the best. Pass blocking, it's okay. I just don't think we do our O line any favors when you run the ball 90% of the time, and then when you have to drop back to pass and everyone knows it's coming, and then they're just getting bull rush. I always say, like, we're making our O line work uphill with the situations we seem to put them in. So I think they're maybe fans maybe point out they're not like the strongest they've been. Maybe going back 2 years ago, we had a pretty good O line, but I think they're pretty solid. They're not the reason we've been losing. We'll say that. I think they've definitely improved the most out of any unit going from game one up until this point, and they've stayed relatively healthy too. So that helps.
Cheers. And sorry, I know that most obviously Minnesota listeners are well aware of all this stuff, so I don't want to bore any of those guys. But going into this game, there's some stuff that I'm sure most Iowa fans would like to know. So it's some
Yeah.
appreciate the insight. But
Yeah.
going off of that, so like I've said earlier, it's always been a really kind of a nail biter for Iowa the last couple of years, and I just feel like, what do you guys think is going to be different this year? What needs to happen to win this game, especially going into Kinnick, which is not necessarily the friendliest of atmospheres for opposing teams?
Uh,
Go ahead, Spence.
to be honest, I think it starts with PJ Fleck. I feel like this game, I look back to 2019. He gets emotional, he gets penalized, we lose yardage. I think I just look back in some of the coaching decisions that he's made during this. I don't know if Ferentz is in his head. I don't know you know, if PJ just is like, I need to beat this Iowa team. I just think that he needs to develop a game plan that's just going to get the job done. Last year, you're this close, a fumble by Mo and a pick. Can't really blame that all on PJ, I guess, but I'm just thinking game management, being smart. You can't turn the ball over against Iowa; they'll make you pay. Um, and honestly, special teams. You brought it up, Connor. I mean, this punter that you all have, he can flip the field like nothing, and I think that has been a key to this season. 6-1. I don't know if that happens without your punter. Because he literally is making another team go 90 yards at times to try and get some points. So I just hope special teams comes to play for PJ Fleck and the Gophers. I doubt that'll happen, but I do think that that's the difference. Coaching, special teams, and then if Minnesota can just run the ball successfully, like they usually do, defense plays sound, don't turn the ball over. I think that's the winning formula to try and beat Iowa.
I would
Yes.
say it's sorry, just going
Sorry,
off
no,
that.
didn't
I
mean
was
to.
just gonna say, last year was like the epitome of like PJ played exactly how, or the Gophers played exactly how PJ would like draw up, just running the ball. I mean, Mo had like 200 something yards, I think, or close to it, rushing last year, and
He
the
tore us up,
turnovers were
man.
huge. But we just have not been able to score touchdowns in the red zone against Iowa. Granted, not many teams can. Iowa's defense is, phenomenal year in year out. So, um, to get over the hump, which is I think it's clearly partly mental at this point. 8 straight, and the games being as close as they have been, and you've lost all of them in that stretch. I think there's a little bit of a mental hurdle involved in this for sure, but I think you got to start capitalizing in the red zone with touchdowns when you get there against Iowa. And obviously, you can't turn the ball over against them, as Spencer said. But to me, that's where it comes down to. You got to put it in the end zone once you get it in the. You got to put it in the end zone from the red zone instead of just settling for 3 points. So
That was poetry.
thank you.
Yeah, I know the red zone offense, it has improved, but that was definitely an issue earlier in the year too. Just the overall offensive efficiency just hasn't been great. It doesn't, it seems like at times we'll get a drive started, we'll be picking up a bunch of yards, and it's like we get past the opposing 40-yard line and it just shuts down. It's like we can't finish a drive. It's gotten a little bit better. Obviously, the Michigan game, not good, but for us, it's like, especially against an Iowa team or any team when you're facing a great defense like that, it's only knowing that they have a good defense that you're probably only going to get so many chances. Like Kurt said, it's going to be, you know, that much more important to capitalize on those opportunities, even if it's going for it on fourth and short, even if it's in field goal range, because the more points you can get, and knowing that Iowa's offense is a little bit down with, missing their tight end, missing their starting quarterback, you may only need, I don't know, 20 points, if that, to kind of capitalize on it. So offensively, they just need to finish. And then defensively, too, even though we know Iowa's offense is what it is, you still can't let them hold on to the ball. You still got to get the ball back, and you can't let them pin you deep because that's just what they're going to do. That's how you guys have beaten us in the past. And yeah, it really just comes down to we can't shoot our own toes off because especially last year, that felt exactly like how it went.
Totally, man.
Flipping it back for questions for you, Connor. I feel like the highlights I've seen out of Iowa's offense here is obviously running the ball, but they've been gashing teams at least once or twice, it seems, the past couple of weeks for big plays. The big long touchdown run last week against Wisconsin. Do you feel like that's kind of been, well, necessary sounds dumb because they scored off of it, but just have they been running the ball effectively outside of the big run plays, or have they been like relying on those large plays to have a successful enough offense to win the game? I guess is how I'll phrase it.
So I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest with you. I think we have been reliant on the big play because, we just can't really get points across the board unless it's a field goal. And so to have those explosive plays like that, anything that we can just bust across the field, it's huge. But outside of that, I think I saw a stat that we would just be averaging like 145 rushing yards without those explosive runs, and one of them was like an 82 yarder, the other one was like a 67 yarder. So we're still running the ball pretty effectively outside of the explosive plays, which is good to see because the first couple of weeks, man, our offensive line, at least with run blocking, we were just struggling. We had the most like tackles for loss given up on the year, and it felt like every time, just because we like to run off tackle, we were just getting gobbled up in the backfield. So it was getting real old. So to see it kind of progress the way it has been really, enlightening to say the least.
Yeah,
It's showing that Brian Ferentz might be actually taking a step back into the offensive line. Love it.
sure. Yeah, and then so if you alluded to Iowa lost. Is it Nick Gall? Right? He just is that
Eric
his
Hall.
first name? Eric Hall. Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Just losing him, the transfer from Michigan, and you lost your top tight end to start or earlier in the season. Iowa's tight ends have always been good, one, but two, they've always killed the Gophers. So, off of play action, who's Iowa's target going to be down the field here? Like, I honestly don't know. Like, who is your top receiver at this point? Like, who's the guy you guys would try and hit down the field off of the play action?
So there's two answers to this question. There's what I would like to see versus what will probably happen. And
Sure.
I'd want to see we just had a transfer from Ohio State come in, and we have just not even bothered getting him involved this year. I don't know if there's been some sort of character issues internally or stuff like that. I don't know any of that stuff, but he just hasn't been on the field. And he was a pretty high recruit. He's the highest rated receiver we've ever gotten. What we're probably going to really end up doing is going to be throwing to Nico Reganey, who's like a 6th-year senior. And, don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of his. He's just not going to be the guy that's going to, blow the doors off going downfield.
Sure.
We like to run a lot of drag routes with him and, short slants and stuff like that. But he's had quite a few drops over the last few weeks, as well as all of our receivers. So it's really hard to say who we would rely on going over the top.
Right.
Especially with your guys' safety, Tyler Newman, man. We're not going to – I think we're smarter than to even bother with that guy. He's just a terror.
Yeah. Well, you might be smart to pick on the linebackers. That's definitely been the struggle point of this defense. A lot of Gopher fans are pointing out the good, right? Like, good for as far as affecting our chances are winning. Iowa's beat up offensively. I've seen, Iowa's defense is great, but maybe not as great in the past. I'm not sure if I'm there. I just feel like I see them make plays constantly. So I don't think I'm quite in that boat. But this Gopher defense has just been struggling, and I really don't think it's a talent issue. I keep saying that. I'm sure half the Gopher people think I'm crazy, but I think the talent's there. There are just a lot of new starters in the middle of this defense, and so we've been hit for some pretty big plays. And, linebackers are either getting out of their run fits or just not able to find their zone that they're supposed to be covering in pass coverage. So, you might be better off attacking the middle with the quick slants and like that than taking the deep shots. But
I think we're down our 3rd-string tight end as well, so that's never fun to see. So we're going to be working with a transfer in that hasn't played much at all, and then we're going to be working with a true freshman who was getting destroyed last week when he came in. Granted, it was against Wisconsin, who is no joke on defense, but yeah, it's not like we have the tight ends to work over the middle with like we usually do, per se. So that'll be tough.
No, it sucks. You never want to see anybody hurt, especially when they're the team's best players. But as far as trying to win, it helps.
Yeah,
we'll take anything we can get at this point.
I get it, man.
All right, Max or Spencer, do you have any other questions before we just get into our keys?
None for me.
Right on.
I guess the only question I had, just kind of big picture with the program at Iowa, if Kirk Ferentz has been there for so long, if you were to be able to choose who the next head coach is, not specifically who exactly, but what type of coach, would you want someone that's kind of just like a newer, younger Kirk Ferentz who's going to do the exact same thing that you guys have been doing, or would you want to kind of bring in some new blood that's going to maybe try to bring in like a high-flying offense and kind of flip the program upside down a little bit? What would you, as an Iowa fan, what would you want to see?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I think part of me does want to stay, with what's loyal. I do appreciate what Kirk Ferentz has done. I think his method has worked. I mean, we are 6-1. It isn't exciting by any means, but it gets the job done. However, what I'd like to actually see, I want to see something a little new and outside the coloring book here. We've been the same team for 2 decades now. I want to see what we can do airing the ball out. We're really driving away offensive recruits with what we've got going on right now, and our philosophy isn't going to make it any easier to bring people in. So I think if we can change that up, I don't know if that means just finding someone completely new and cleaning house. I like some of the guys. I think they could be good options that we have there now. But yeah, I think it'd just be nice. It'd be refreshing to see, something a little bit more electric, for lack of better words.
Sure.
It gets a little boring,
Yeah, no. We get that.
You guys do know. You guys get to watch it once a year, and it's a snooze fest from our offensive side. So,
hey, like I said, we are right there with you guys in pass attempts per game, and I think we have like 13 more yards. Not much more passing yards a game either right now. So
it happens.
And we have our starter. So and he's the 4-star guy that we've been waiting for and kind of built the offense around. So it's not looking so hot right now. All right, let's get into our keys to the game now, and just we can get into score predictions from there. I'll turn it over to Spencer first. Spencer, what are you seeing here in this matchup Saturday?
Yeah, I think keys are going to be pretty simple. Be physical. I think this is a classic Big Ten matchup, and we know up front that's where it starts. But with that, you got to take care of the ball. You cannot afford to turn the ball over at all in this game. I think, they'll make you pay if you turn the ball over, so you got to do that. And I think special teams too. We know Iowa, they're going to be able to punt the ball to the other side of the field and make you go many, many yards. So Gophers get good returns, be smart with it. If it's going, if a kickoff is going out of bounds, let it go out of bounds. If a punt, if you can run it back, great. But if you can't, maybe see if you can get in the end zone. Just being smart on special teams, trying to make a move. And then I guess big time defensively, Kurt, you said it. Totally forgot about this. Got to stop the tight end. It helps that it's on like the third string tight end here, but tight ends have killed the Gophers in the past, and they got to limit those big plays from them. So they can do that. I think they can win the game. Are we doing score predictions as well?
Sure, if you're ready, go ahead, go for it.
With that, I think the streak continues. I think that the
Oh,
Gophers will still lose to this team in a
ooh.
close one, and I think it's special teams that does it. I have Iowa winning 20-17.
Hey, you took the over. Brave man, brave man.
That's a Floyd of Rosedale shootout.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
um, Go ahead, Max.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said, Spence. It's we can't make mistakes. Special teams is probably gonna decide the game. Hopefully, not us making a mistake on special teams. Yeah, just with Iowa, you guys have a weapon at punter, and then Cooper DeJean, not only an awesome defensive back, but he's a great punt returner too. So we can't let him get loose. We can't let him wreak havoc on our offense. So really, don't let him beat you. And then on our defense too, we gotta pretty much load the box and make you guys throw the ball downfield. Because hopefully we can catch you. Hopefully Tyler Dubin can get a couple interceptions in this one, turn the ball over a little bit to give us a few more opportunities to score. Because even if we do have the ball most of the game, who knows if we're able to put the end zone. So I think I agree with Spence, though. It's going to Kinnick is such a tough place to play. We just haven't had success there. We also just have not been successful in the recent history after a bye week. So I think we do lose this one 16-10.
Man. Yeah. All right. I'll go to mine. So keys to the game would just be defensively. Sounds simple, but we haven't done it that well. It's just do your assignment each play to play. Eliminate the big plays because Iowa's hit some teams on that. And you're gonna have your hands full enough with how physical they are up front. I do like our D line, not enough to hold their own. It is. I don't think they'll take over the game or anything. It's just going to come down to, you know, in that second and third level of this defense, can they fill the running lanes? And I also think you're probably because you guys are right to bring up special teams going to play a huge factor. I just know the Gophers aren't going to win that battle. So I also have down that the defense needs to create a turnover on Iowa side of the field to give the offense a short field to win this game. And then offense, um, yes, we need to be able to throw the ball to win, but I think you'll see a heavy dose of Zach Evans and Darius Taylor, assuming Darius Taylor can go this game. Really hoping he does. But you need to be able to have something to go off that, right? We mentioned last year Mo ran like crazy, but we didn't have anything really to go off of that to kind of seal the deal and score a touchdown. So you got to be able to throw the ball in the red zone to score 6. So those would be my 2 keys to the game. I picked this as a loss before the year start. Like yesterday, I had this as a loss, but I just gotta pick with my heart. There's a lot of injuries at Iowa. You know, 6-1. We are 6-1 all time against Iowa when we're off the week before. That's not a lot of. That's not a lot of matchups for how long the rivalry's been played. But I'm gonna go with it. And no one's ever beat PJ Fleck 7 straight times. The odds are stacked against them. I got 23-11 Gophers.
Respect, man. I
It's
respect that.
hard.
That's a good
It's hard.
score.
It's hard. It's hard.
So you got an over in the game too.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just picking.
Nah,
I
I
just like
got
to
you.
throw on my Gopher glasses here and just, see the best possible outcome.
Not totally with it, man. For us though, I think for as an Iowa fan, I'll be short and sweet here. On offense, we got to score like early on. We tend to do our best when we score early. We can kind of ease up a little bit, kind of relax. Which sounds like it's not the way you want to play. You usually want to keep your foot on the pedal, but given the way our defense plays, we like to have them on the field. We like to pin you back deep, and we like to put some pressure on you that way. So key for us is to score early, just keep applying the pressure on defense. Going off that though, from defense, I think we forced two or three turnovers last week against Wisconsin by just swarming on tackles. I'd love to see us continue that, especially with how good of running backs that you guys have. They're not going to be easy to tackle one-on-one. We do have a really good linebacker in Jay Higgins. I think he's second in the country in tackles. But when you're facing a lot of guys that wear and tear you like that, we got to just all be on the ball. And it worked out for us. I think we had a safety and a forced fumble, and Wisconsin's got a pretty elite run game year in and year out. So those are my keys to the game. For score prediction, I think I got to go with something low, man. The last couple Iowa games I've been to, it's just been boring, but it's been awesome, but it's been boring as far as scoring. So I think I'm going to go with something like 16-10. I think Max said that earlier. I don't want to copy you, but I think that sounds right on the money.
I just feel like we're going to see at some point.
It's got it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, those were 3 very logical expectations and one hopeful one from myself. But you mentioned scoring early. Brian Ferentz, specifically against Joe Rossi, has scripted an opening touchdown pretty successfully over the past, what is it, year 7 now. So he's been successful against the Gophers. I joke to these guys that we keep him employed just because historically Iowa has scored a lot of points at home, especially against the Gophers. So
I do remember a couple of games. Those go
yeah,
back a couple years though, so it's not
right.
anything
Yeah,
too recent.
the last 2 have been pretty, as expected. They've been a little bit more,
Oh,
normal for how
absolutely.
the season's played out. But yeah, it should be a great game. Probably low scoring. I think it's a game, just as a college football fan, you want to tune into every year just because of how physical it is. I like college football enough, and I know we all do. Just I don't care if it's 70-60 or 10-9. Like, it's the competitiveness that's going to keep you in it anyway. So points or no points, it's fine with me.
Absolutely.
Probably not a lot of points in this one. Thanks for tuning in, Connor. Do you just want to give plugs here quick for your pod?
Yeah, sure. I'll tell you where you can find us really quick. I think we're only on Twitter and Instagram as far as social medias go. On Twitter, we are at Inside the Nest 0. I think someone already had Inside the Nest. Kind of crazy. But Instagram, we are Inside the Nest Pod. And you can find us on Spotify and YouTube. We're starting to get going on YouTube now. We've got a few videos posted. We're mostly on Spotify, but yeah, that's where you can find us. Appreciate
Perfect.
you guys having us on, man. It was a blast being with you guys today, chopping it up.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thanks for joining us, Connor. And as always, guys, go Gophs, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers, fellas.